Michelle, can you introduce yourself and tell us where you are today, please?
My name is Michelle Borba. I'm an educational psychologist, and right now I am in Palm Desert, California.
Oh, cool. We're in the same
Yeah.
time zone. Okay. You've been doing this for,
Forever, at least 40 years. It started out as a special education teacher. By the way, the majority of my classrooms were always, I would say, out of 11 kids, 11 of them were boys. But I'm seeing a switch on that one. I started out as a special ed teacher, and then with my doctorate, I started writing books. The most extraordinary thing is I got to travel all over the world, 91 different countries, working in schools and with organizations on television and media.
it's a very impressive
Oh, well,
career.
thank you.
Today, do you actually see individual clients?
Not as much. I used to do individual clients a lot, but now what I do is before I work in any school or large parent organization, I do focus groups with the kids. The best comments I've ever received on how to stop any anxiety problem or what we should do to flip schools around come from students, particularly teens. Yeah,
Interesting.
right on the mark every. It's fascinating because the more you talk with them, the more they absolutely blend into exactly what the research says. If we really wanted to know a solution, ask the kids because they have a pulse on what's going on in the world and we should listen.
Book is so timely right now because you're
Yeah,
really talking about things that are on everybody's mind.
yeah.
Because our mission is to find girls with ADHD as early as possible and diagnose them. I'm wondering what you're seeing in your focus groups, what people are
Well,
saying.
first of all, the same problem has always been we wait too late to find the girls. The sooner we can diagnose them, obviously the better. I find more and more girls are internalizing, more and more girls are not sharing their concerns or verbalizing them. There's a slow pitch where it's finally been in the schools to say, I'm having problems and giving permission to speak out. It's easier to find the boys because a lot of the time they externalize it. You see that behavior pattern and it's easier to spot, oh, that child needs help. What we've got to do is be a little bit more detectives and watch a little closer and turn into our girls so that we make sure that we give them the help that they desperately need.
This is advice both for parents and teachers.
Oh, across the board. Counselors have known that forever, but we assume because the child doesn't talk, or what we're seeing in a lot of our girls, because they're doing so well, that it means that they're not struggling. The affluence goes up, the girls are having more and more problems. It's across the board in every demographic, but it's fascinating on the patterns that are emerging that we begin to see, oh my gosh, don't overlook that.
You're giving advice to teachers about the things that they might be missing with girls still going undiagnosed till it's too late for many of them. What would be your advice?
The first thing is be aware that we are missing them. Once we know that, we're going to tune in more. We need to give all of our educators a diagnostic tool that says, watch closer. Don't overlook some kids. If you watch kids, behavior is always the pattern, but we miss the subtle little triggers and the subtle little pattern, whether you're a parent or a teacher. Tune in. It's a calendar. Put it on top of your desk. Just mark for one girl. You'll begin to see a pattern of when is she more irritable or more closed-minded, or you can see more tenseness. If you write down the time and you look it over at the end of the week, you'll go, oh my gosh, it's always at 11 o'clock. What's going on at 11 o'clock? It's always on Thursday. What's going on Thursday? You'll be able to zero in and help her much more. In all fairness to teachers, they're overwhelmed as it is. But I'm not saying doing it with all. You already know that you're concerned about some kids. So zero in on the some kids, because once you see that pattern, then you can, it's like when you go to the doctor and you say, I have an earache. And then the first question is, how often is it happening? If you don't track it down, you won't know. But as soon as you have that tracking device, as a parent, you do exactly the same thing. Then you can go to the school psychologist. You can go and talk to the counselor or set up an appointment with the teacher and say, are you seeing this pattern? Go to your pediatrician. They're being really well trained these days and they're being asked to spot triggers that we may be overlooking. Get help is what the key is. Don't try to do this yourself.
What do you think about the idea of screening girls routinely by age?
We need to do it for all kids. We've overlooked them. We've been doing it for a long time with the boys, but the screening too often starts at age 13. By the time we get to 13, you and I know how much harder it is Any parent will say, if I'd only known sooner, I could have been more helpful. The child starts to get discouraged. The anxiety goes up, the nervousness goes up. We're really concerned about our girls. Self-harm goes up, depression goes up, and then it becomes harder and harder. You can never rewind the time.
I'm curious about these focus groups. If girls are speaking to you about their ADHD, if you think it's a cool thing to be identified as neurodiverse these days, or if there's still some shame attached to it.
There's always shame. The shame is whether or not it's allowed to give the child permission to share, permission to say you're in a safe, secure haven of an environment. And that's the first step we need to do. I don't care if it's your home, the Boys and Girls Club, the babysitting co-op, or the classroom. You got to make sure that the child feels safe and has the permission to share. A lot of times in a focus group, because my first rule in a focus group is I don't write down your names. You can share anything you want, and there's no judgment attached. As soon as they feel safe, they start to open up. I always give them this rule. You don't have to share your concern, but you can also share what you think your peers say, what you think your friends will say. All of a sudden they open up. It's really their concern, but they're sharing it like it's their peers. They're worried about each other. They're worried about themselves. They very often say, I'm always jittery. I'm always on edge. I don't know how to tune it down. It looks like mindfulness or quiet time activities is being used in this school or SEL programs. I get one thing from girls that's fascinating. That may work for her, but it doesn't necessarily work for me. We have to find what works for each one of us. And they always say, please don't give me a koosh ball. I can't go walking around with a koosh ball. I need to be able to come up with an anxiety reducer that I can use anytime in any place. Oh, I love that. Yes, the solution number one is give kids, girls in particular, a range of ideas and then let them choose what works for them. That's a key that they're saying. The other one that one girl told me, you don't learn this stuff in a textbook. We got to practice this stuff. Amen. You have to keep practicing it over and over again. The one thing we want our girls to be able to do is use whatever is going to help them reduce the anxiety so that they have a strategy they can use anytime and every place without us. Then it becomes the habit that's going to be helping them the rest of their lives.
What kind of strategies do you recommend?
It all depends on the girl. One of the things I love to do is say, hey, let's just brainstorm things that work. What works for you, or what have you seen works for other kids? Sometimes it's exercise. Sometimes it's yoga. Sometimes it's reading a book. Natalie, oh, I love Natalie. I said, what helps you? And she says, Mozart. I said, that was not what I was prepared to hear. How did you discover that Mozart works? She said, my mom, she's really crafty. She plays music over a loudspeaker system. And every time Mozart comes in, my whole body starts to decompress.
Oh,
I said,
nice.
so what did you do? She said, I loaded up my iPad with Mozart. See, that works for Natalie. What we have to do is find what works for every daughter, every girl, every sister. And that's what's going to make a difference on our kids.
Your career has really spanned the era in which anxiety and depression and all these other problems have gone through the roof.
I don't think it's just the cell phone. I think it's this tsunami of things that are changing because our culture is changing. I also want to say that I'm not going to blame COVID. Yeah, it ramped it up, but I wrote Thrivers and it was published the day COVID hit. Everyone says, how did you know that our kids are not learning resilience? Because they've been telling me that. And I've been seeing it for the last 10 years. It's just been a steady increase. They're living in a more pressurized society where it's all about the grade and the pressure, particularly our girls. The second thing I'm seeing is that they don't have time to relax. One precious teen girl was telling me, my schedule is just so ramped up that I have to wake up at 5 a.m. I go to swim lessons. Then at 6 o'clock, I have my breakfast. I go to start school. My first class is 7. I get out by 3. Then I go to swim lessons at school. And then I have homework that lasts until around 1 a.m. How are you surviving? I wouldn't be able to survive. She says, I barely do, but I just keep going. We've got to take a moment to see, are they sleeping?
Yeah.
Is there any downtime? The common thing I'm hearing from girls is we just don't have balance in our lives. And when they do go to balance, it's a cell phone, which I don't think is necessarily the most wonderful thing for them. Some girls, maybe it does help them. But watch your daughter and watch to see them when they're on the cell phone. If it's a healthy habit, you'll see a relaxation come through.
Mhm.
Most of the parents go, oh, no, it's not. They're ramping up.
We've heard these warnings for years now. What is it going to take for society to listen to these very justified warnings?
Some very committed educators. They're the ones who finally are getting it. The rest of us are ignoring it. They have clear cell phone policy rules that they're applying. They've changed and altered their whole schedule. So it starts an hour later. Teens get to sleep in the morning. They're not banning recess, but they're allowing kids to have more outside play. They're looking at the research. They're looking at what's going to not cost anything, but they're finding strategies that work. And then they're also doing one other thing that I love. They're finding times for girls to connect together when you get social influencers on schools who are actually at the second rung of the popularity level, and you ask them to figure out what the problem is and what can you do, they actually can revolutionize the school. I've seen them. Bullying and cyberbullying is so huge. I said, what do you want to do about it? They said, stop telling us that we should stop bullying. Well, we want to hear what everybody else says. If you surveyed everybody and you asked them, how much do you support bullying or how much would you like somebody to step in? They actually started that, confirming the research. You walk into the school and it'll have girl-made signs that say 90% of us are against cyberbullying, so stop it. They changed the
Cool.
culture.
There are some positive trends. Go
Yeah.
share as a special education expert. Do you think ADHD is being overdiagnosed or underdiagnosed?
Oh, clearly underdiagnosed. We're seeing so many kids with focusing problems because of our own attention span is going down. We're looking at kids who are a little more anxious or a little more irritable, and we're going, oh, it just must be what everybody's going through. As a result, we undermine some girls and we're missing some. That's what we need to tune into. Here's what it looks like. Here's what you should be looking for. If teachers just had that, if counselors, if pediatricians, if more moms and dads had that, we wouldn't be overlooking it. We'd be taking it more seriously.
It's definitely all over social media.
We need to get it into the hands of pediatricians, a pediatrician who can be the first one as an authority to say, let's start looking at this and let's start looking earlier. There is a gift that we overlook, and I think that's one gift we overlook in all kids, and that is we don't look for their talents and their strengths and where their hidden nuggets are. Like if we only became more of a talent scout, it would boost our kids' confidence. You can't be like everybody else. So what's going to make you stand out, or what's helping you feel like this is what you love to do? Girls say, I just don't have time to do what I love to do. One girl said, do you think ukulele is a high enough passion? And I said, do you love it? She said, oh, I love it. What happens when you play it? Oh, my whole body soothes. Then why aren't you doing it? She said, my dad said it's not a high enough passion on my
Oh
resume.
my
I
God.
said, oh my gosh, find
That's
time to do it because you
yeah.
discovered something you'll be able to use the rest of your life. That's what we need to do. When I wrote Thrivers, I was looking for how do we boost our children's resilience? If our children's resilience, if it's not a genetic trait, it's something we can teach, why is it tanking? We're focusing too much on our kids' deficits and not on their strengths.
I love the talent scout image. That is the thing that I most discovered was helpful with my son. Once he figured out what he could do really well, it was all smooth sailing.
Here's
Hard
the other
thing.
thing we do. I've been talking to college professors, college presidents. They
Yeah.
say there's a new breed coming in. They're very smart, but they're risk adverse. When they get their first B plus, they don't know what to do. So I always tell parents, the way you find your daughter's college is not based on what it looks like in the FIS guide. When you take her on the campus, you ask her the key question, do you feel like
How's
you
it feel?
belong here? Can you see yourself here? When you do, that's the highest correlation of staying there. Number one time our kids drop out of school, end of freshman year, first semester of college. Find that belonging sense. Social competence, that's number two on thriving. It's that ability to belong and connect with things that you love. You got to find what your kid loves because she'll use it the rest of her life. Social competence is
Can-
absolutely critical. A third one is self-control. Does she have the ability to calm herself when you're not there? She needs to be able to do it before the test or right before she does a tryout. Maybe it's that slow, deep breathing that helps us get through adversity. Fourth is your integrity. It's your integrity, mom or dad, that's woven into your daughter so that when push comes to shove, she can stand up for what is right, particularly in the peer pressure in middle school and high school. Then comes my favorite, curiosity. It's helping our daughters be open to possibilities. Yeah, you may have not done so well there. So what's your plan B? What are you going to do differently next time? And if you have that openness and you're a problem solver, it's highly correlated to resilience. What we do is solve our daughter's problems. Don't sit back and say, what's something you could do differently than keep a poker face on some of the weird stuff that comes out? That's an idea. What's another one? Then comes perseverance. Most parents are asking, why isn't my daughter persevering? It's really tough to persevere if you don't have some of those other strengths. You don't have the sleep, or you don't have the focusing, or you don't have the self-confidence. Finally comes what every girl needs, is hope and optimism. It's going to be okay. All they're seeing is doom and gloom scenarios. Let's show our kids that there may be any crisis, but if you notice, in every crisis, what happens? The good people come together. The
Yeah.
good comes. That's what we need to show.
This is fantastic advice for girls.
What I read recently that really impacted me and would have made a difference to me growing up is when your child comes up with ideas, instead of right away putting the kibosh on it and saying, oh, that's not realistic, the parent says, how would you do it? They get
Yeah.
alongside of them and encourage their ideas. Maybe eventually the child will decide they can't do it, but at least you're helping them with their creativity and supporting them in their ideas.
Oh, I love that, Cynthia. That's exactly what you do with curiosity. You keep it open. You keep them knowing that there is anything you can do. You got to storm your brain. We be very critical on our own self. Stop your thinking patterns of saying, here's what you should do. What's another idea? Another idea. We'd be less of a manager and more of a counselor, just sitting there helping them through it and coaching them. They can do it on their own. So essential.
Do you have any ideas for masking? When we hear that girls with ADHD or autism mask, how we can sort it out that they are, or how to help them to take the mask off?
I think a big thing is allowing that safety net. If they have that, they can open up and feel like it's going to be okay. They're more likely to share. It was called the Green Bandana Brigade. And it was started by a mom whose son committed suicide, but he always wore a green bandana. And she said, if only he'd known it was okay to share your feelings, unmask, and let everybody know. Backpacks with green bandanas on them. Who's ever has a green bandana tied to their backpack, it means you can come and talk to me. They've created this incredible openness that I absolutely love, where it's safe to share. That's what we need to do for our kids.
These ideas are coming from kids.
Do you see any part of this where the parents are putting less time into their children? They get them into the activities, but they're not there to interact with them.
Yes, we're seeing that. First of all, we've overscheduled so much that our own time isn't there for our kids. That's what the girls will say. My schedule is so packed. I just don't have any time to do one-on-one time with my mom or dad or be together. When we are together, I think the most important thing is be present. 66% of the kids say we're the ones too plugged in, not them.
Huh.
We're the ones that got to put our phones down. It's making sure that there are those times. Oh my gosh, childhood goes by so fast. Take advantage of those moments now. Put on pause, open up and be present. It may be a minute, it may be an hour. But during that time, what will happen is your child will become more relaxed and look forward those times with you. And those are the times they're more likely to unmask and open up, because they know that they have time. Our kids are more likely to open up when they're doing something. It's hard for them to sit face to face with mom or dad and say, I'm really going through a tough time. But if you're playing dominoes or you're shooting baskets or you're going for a walk
Driving
or
somewhere.
whatever
Yeah.
your child likes to do, that's when they're more likely to open up, because that's when they're relaxed. Look for those moments and take advantage of them.
It's just been a delight to talk with
Oh,
you.
thank
And
you.
thank you so much for your time.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
So
Girls need you.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
We believe all girls with ADHD should get a fair start in life by getting diagnosed by age 8. Visit us at www.findtheadhdgirls.org. Thank you.